I'm going to show you how to prepare your materials for the Lactase Lab, and it's going to be a little easier than for the Jello Lab, okay? So first thing, I've got all my materials here. I have 3 jars that I've labeled. So this one says boiled lactase. This one says fresh or not boiled lactase. This one says glucose. And all I used to label them was some blue painter's tape and a Sharpie, because the blue painter's tape will come off easily in the end. If you don't have blue painter's tape, you can use another kind of tape. You can actually just write on glass with Sharpie and then take some rubbing alcohol to remove it in the end. So that works too. I've got some measuring cups. I have a mortar and pestle for crushing up my lactase. If you don't have a mortar and pestle, you can use the back of a spoon and a bowl. That works fine. I have a small saucepan with a lid. The lid is pretty important because it'll keep all the water from boiling off as quickly. And then I have my bag of science supplies. So I'm going to take out this package. This is my glucose test strips, so I'll do those last. Here I have my bag of 6 lactase tablets and my bag of glucose. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 of the lactase tablets, and I'm going to, so here's my 3 tablets, and I'm going to crush them up with my mortar and pestle. They're pretty easy to mash, and now I have a nice little powder, and I'm going to put that in my container labeled boiled lactase. I'm going to start with the boiling lactase because it takes the longest. Then I'm going to get half a cup of water. And I'm going to mix it in. Whoops. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to cover this, and I'm just going to shake it to get the lactase to dissolve as best I can. Okay, so now I'm going to pour my solution into this pan there, okay? I'm gonna wanna rinse this out because it still has some lactase. If I wanted to, I could do this and try to get a little more of the lactase in there. There we go. So now I'm just gonna set this, I'm gonna turn it to get it started, and then once it starts to boil, I'm gonna bring it down to a simmer. So we're just gonna leave that for right now. So now we're going to do the second one. So I'm going to take my other 3 tablets of lactase, and I'm going to mash those up. And I'm going to put those in my container labeled fresh or not boiled lactase. Lactase is just an enzyme that our bodies make, so it's totally okay to eat. These are actually commercial lactase tablets that people who are lactose intolerant take. So like, it's okay that this is also used for food. And so now I'm going to mix in the same amount of water. So I'm going to get half a cup. And then I'm going to close that. And I'm just going to leave that. I'm going to put it in the refrigerator in the end, but I'm now done with that. So now I'm going to make my glucose solution. So I'm going to take my bag of glucose, and I'm going to take 1 teaspoon of glucose, and that should pretty much be exactly what you have. We gave you about a teaspoon of glucose. So I'm going to put that in my glucose container. I'm going to take a 1/4 cup of water this time. And same thing, I'm going to put the top on. I'm going to shake that so that the glucose dissolves. Still some glucose in there. Still some undissolved glucose. And I'm just going to shake it until it dissolves, and then that too I'm going to put aside until I need for later. So now my last step is I'm going to take my glucose test strips. Now you need 6 glucose test strips, but glucose test strips are really expensive, and so we only gave you 3. So you are going to be cutting them in half. And this blue part on top, that's the test part. So I'm going to take my scissors and I am literally just going to cut lengthwise down this test strip so that it ends up being 2 test strips. And I'm going to do that with all 3 of my test strips so that I get 6 total. Okay, so I've cut my test strips into 6 pieces. I'm going to keep them in this packet because test strips, we believe, are light sensitive. And I'll just put it back in my bag to save for next week. And now my lactase is starting to boil. And so it's simmering now. And really what we want to do is we want to let it simmer. At this point, I've turned it down. We're going to let it simmer covered for about 45 minutes. Now, at some point you may want to check it. You may want to check it, I would say, every 10 minutes to make sure the water hasn't boiled out. That's one of the reasons we have a top. But it's the lactase we're heating. The water is just there for the lactase to dissolve in. And so you can just keep adding a little more water if you notice the water getting too low. And then in the end, you'll measure out half a cup. And you'll put it in your boiled lactase and put all 3 of these in the refrigerator to save for next week when we do the lab on Monday or Tuesday. So I'm just going to leave this for the next 45 minutes and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes, so I'm just going to check this and I'm going to swirl it around a little just to kind of get any off the side. This still looks like plenty of water to me, so I'm not going to add any more water. But now that I've swirled it a little, it seems to not be simmering as much. There aren't as many bubbles. So I'll turn it up just for a few minutes and then I'll come back and check it in maybe 2 minutes and maybe I'll have to turn it down a little if it looks like it's bubbling too much because I don't want it to bubble over. Then I lose all my lactase. So I'm done boiling this and there's not a ton left, so I am going to add a little more water to bring it up to about half a cup. I think the easiest way, and I did add some more water along the way. And then, oh yeah, no, this isn't even close to half a cup. Okay, so I can add some more water. The water's not going to change the boiling part any, and that'll actually help me get some of the lactase that's stuck in here out. All right, so now some of you are going to say, like, I added some more water along the way, and then I did have to turn the heat way up because the water stopped it from boiling. And it was sort of like I just eyeballed it, and I was like, that doesn't quite look like enough. I know that some of you don't like that answer, that you just kind of have to look at it and make a decision. But the idea here is that we've boiled the lactase, and the lactase is an enzyme, which is a protein. So now I'm going to dump it in there. There's actually a little, I'm just going to add just a drop more to really get that in. And now I'm going to close it, and then I'm going to put all these in the refrigerator, and then I am done.